Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar conducted by Digantah Saksham Foundation. Here we want to educate our esteemed teachers community to get them enabled on how to use Google Forms for the purpose of delivering online education. So to start with, firstly we need to have a Google account. Once you are logged in with your Google account, you need to simply search for Forms or Google Forms on google.com. Once you get the search results, something like this as you are seeing on the screen, you will see two options, personal and business. So we'll start with personal here. So go to Google Forms, we click here. Now a new screen will come up. You will see there some predefined options available: blank, contact information, RSVP, party invites, t-shirt sign up, event registration. These are nothing but the preset templates which you can use to create the Google form of your choice. Here we will start with blank. So when we click on blank, it will show up something like this with a window with untitled form. So let's try to name this form as Digantah Foundation Attendance. This is optional field where we can put in the form description. So let me put in as sample form for recording attendance. So why we are choosing a sample form for recording attendance? Because the attendance is one of the most important factor of online education. It helps you keep track of how many students are attending the classes, and based on that you can generate a record. So we want to simplify this whole manual process using Google Forms here. So now if you see, I have named the form as Digantah Foundation Attendance. But in order to save this on Google Drive or make it online available, I need to click here so that the name reflects on the Google Drive as well. Now we have certain options where we can add the questions and ask the students or the receiver of this form to put in their answers or information. So let's see what the first question could be. Since it's an attendance form, the first question would be first name. Now as soon as I put the question as first name, the Google applies some logic and identifies the answer would be a short answer, because the name or a first name would be a one-word answer or information. So it automatically detects what is the type of answer to this question. Now since first name is a required field to identify the student, I will enable the required option here. I can add the question from here. My second question would be last name. So as soon as I typed in the second question as last name, again the Google changed the answer type to short answer, and this becomes a required field as well. The other question would be roll number, and it is a required field as well. Now we take attendance against the classes that are whole. So in my understanding, one of the question would be, what subject or period did you attend? Now this cannot be a short answer because there will be multiple subject periods in a day. So let me change it to a drop down. So what drop down will do, it will give the students a list of classes which are predefined, and they can select which class they attend. So let's say start with Hindi. English, mathematics, science, general awareness. Here any number of periods could be added depending on what is taught in that class or for that particular grade. So now this is again a required field where students are required to select which class they attend. Now my next question could be date. Now as soon as I type in date as a question, Google determined the question type and it selected date as an answer type as well. This is again a required field. And one last question could be attended, which means we are asking the students if they attend the class or not. I can keep it multiple choice because there could be two options here, yes and no. So option 1, if I put yes, if you see the suggestions here, right, Google is suggesting the next option could be no. So if I select no, it will add no by itself. Now on the form, students will get two options to choose from. One is yes and other is no. This is again a required field because that will help the teacher determine whether the student attended the class or not. So this is what looks like an attendance form to start with. We can see a preview of this form here. So if you see, it states that the fields with asterisk sign are required ones. So first name is required, last name is required, roll number is required, subject period entry is required, date entry is required, and selection against yes or no is required as well, because we set or enabled the required option against each question. Now, if we see here, these were the choices that we have entered in the form: Hindi, English, mathematics, science, general awareness. And as I mentioned earlier, you can add more options to it. date, you'll get the form receiver will get a calendar to fill in the date, and again the option yes and no. So let's say if I start filling it, so I have filled the first name, last name, roll number, subject, period, date, but I am deliberately not filling attended. So let me try to submit it. See, it fails to submit because it requires the attended question to be answered as yes or no. So this is how the form will look like to any student or the receiver of this form. So now we can choose how to distribute or send this form to the desired recipients. So if I select on send button here, I can enter the email of the students or the teachers or anyone whom I want to send this form to. So the subject would be the name of the form, and you can change it over here as well. And message that will go with the email could be drafted or mentioned here. Fill the form before the start of the class, and you can select include form in email. Now if you see a button here or an option here called add collaborators, so if I click on this, it will give me the option to give editing access to this form to other person. So if as a teacher I have created this form for my class, I can send the same form to other teachers so that they can use it for their purpose as well, and they can add or delete options in this form. So either I can send the email here, or I can copy the link and send it directly either on WhatsApp, email, or any messaging service. Now if you see near questions, there is one option as responses. Now what responses is? So the good thing about the form is the Google has designed a way where anyone who is inputting data into the form, right, that data can be collected into a Excel sheet automatically. So if I click on responses here, so if I see 0 responses here, which means I have not got any response yet or any input on the form from any of the recipients, because I have not sent the form to anyone yet. Again, if I want to disable the form, I can simply select not accepting responses. If as a teacher I want to get the email notifications for the new responses, I can select this. So what it will do, whenever there is a response or a form, somebody has filled a form, I'll get an email notification that a response is available. Now I can create a response destination here, which means a new spreadsheet that will collect the responses coming into forms from different recipients or different inputters and collate that information into the Excel sheet dynamically. That means whatever the responses I am getting on the forms, I don't have to manually put them into Excel sheet. Those responses will be captured in the Excel sheet, and I can access that Excel sheet anytime, since it's available online always, to see what is the status of the attendance. So if I select create here, it will create Excel sheet with the fields that I have created in the form. Now if you see, there are fields first name, last name, roll number, subject period, date and attend date. So whenever any of the recipients fills that form, that information will automatically be reflected in this Excel sheet under first name, last name, roll number, subject period, date and attend date as filled in the form. Now if you see, there is an additional field here called timestamp. So what timestamp is, it will capture the time and date when any student or the recipient of the form has filled in the information and submitted it. So it will give you the option to track when somebody has filled in the form and send the responses back using the submit button. So this will simply give you the attendance without any manual entry or manual reading of the form responses. Again, we can share this Excel sheet with anyone we want, just that they need to have a valid email account or Gmail account. It can be done in two ways. One is adding people or groups using their emails, and another way is copy the link and send the link to the desired recipient of this link. For now, I'll click done. This is how my Excel sheet will look like. Close it. So, a brief overview or a brief recapture. We can create forms where questions could be the fields that we want the students or the form receivers to answer against, like first name, last name, roll number, subject period, date, attended, all the questions here, and the receiver of the form will have to input their responses or answers against these. So this is kind of the question form or the form or the survey form or the attendance form that will go to the students or other recipients of this form. And how I look at the responses is using the spreadsheet that is automatically filled when someone submits a filled form back to us. With that, we come to the end of our demo of Google Form.